Straight into our first conversation with Mtima Solwazi. He's been actively involved in youth and community development for the past 2 decades, working with disenfranchised youth in high-risk environments and criminogenic communities. Now, he's a founder of the Roots Foundation, which utilizes spoken word as a catalyst for social change through the preservation and promotion of the oral traditions. Now, he was in Enterprise last Friday. We speak to him about his experience. He's also definitely a community action officer with the Citizens Security Program. Thank you so much for your presence in Mtima.
Thank you.
CSP, what is the status of CSP? Because we know we hear it's supposed to be coming to a close. We see the need for it still. What is on the board?
So today is the 3rd, tomorrow is the 4th. The contract up tomorrow, please God. As of today, we still don't know what's the situation with CSP in terms of the extension or the continuation of the program into a second phase. Because as you know, CSP is a pilot project. Has been running so for the past 8 or 9 years. So we got a special extension, a 1-year special extension, take us into 2017, April the 4th. So we are still awaiting word from the administration as to what's the status of CSP moving forward into a second phase.
There was supposed to be an audit or a look at the impact. Has that happened, or is that to happen?
Yes, that has happened, and I said we're still awaiting word on the status of CSP, but we're jamming still.
So no, that word or status, or word on the status, is that together with the results of that investigation or audit, seeing what the impact was?
Well, I wouldn't be able to really speak much on that aspect because that's above my paycheck. But all I can say, like our supervisor, Gregory Sloan says, we are all awaiting word on the continuation of the program.
What have people been saying, people in the community, people who have been seeing the effects, saying about the program?
Well, I can speak for the communities that I work in. I work at Sealots, Beetham Gardens, Gonzales, Sugram Trace, and St. Barb's. And all these residents, including the others, they are very hopeful that the program continues. We had a Sports and Family Day last Thursday on Shouter Baptist Day, and we had all 22 plus communities from Tobago throughout East Port of Spain, as far as Grandy, all over. They came out, and it was a beautiful experience where we see the communities coming together. And in some cases, when you have communities who generally don't really interface with each other, and playing tug of war, rodded races, just enjoying that ambience of family and togetherness. And, I was saying to one of my co-workers, I said, if this is the end, we went out in style, because we saw the work of CSP manifested in that environment last Thursday.
What has some of that work been to actually bring it to the point where you have a space where you have factions or communities who don't necessarily interact coming together and saying, okay, well, we're going to be about peace, we're going to be about positivity?
So we have heard this bandit about all the time. It's like a broken record in terms of what CSP is about. But how we work with other agencies. So for instance, we work very, very close with the Hearts and Minds. It's a division of the IATF. There's a division of CSP called Project Reason. They use the cure violence approach. Apart from those 2 entities, we work with other state agencies, the private sector, and most importantly, we work with the residents. Because sometimes we forget the residents as though like they don't exist, right? But they are very instrumental in what occurred last Thursday and what has been occurring throughout CSP's period of existence.
What are some of the things that CSP has been doing to actually remember the residents and say, okay, well, you are a valid part of this and we want to help you help us take this forward?
All right, so as you would know, I'm just showing, I came from Serval, right? I just want to draw these 2 analogies. I came from Serval, and the Father Pantin have a philosophy: respectful intervention, lack of cultural arrogance, and attentive listening. I've seen that be exhibited in CSP. When we move into our community, we don't come and say, hey, we have the solution to your problems. We work with the residents. Every project that CSP executed in a community came from the residents. They came up with the design. We worked with them to give them that logistical and technical support, but the idea is theirs because they know their problem. We can't come in and say, hey, we know your problem, this is the solution, take that. We'll never get the results we have been getting over the years, never.
Have you seen situations where there are residents of communities already trying to do or trying to implement some of their ideas, but at the same time needed that push? Because not everybody looks formal or corporate enough sometimes to be able to go in and get funding or get resources.
Well said. So what we do, we do capacity building of the residents. So we train them in, like, they do event management courses, they do different programs to help build their human capital, right? We also do parenting projects because parenting is a skill. People feel you have 2, 3, 4 children, so you're experienced now. You know, we do parenting training, we do counseling, we do mediation, we do conflict resolution, we do, in terms of project management, there's so many different, listen, residents in the CSP partner communities can say they are better off in terms of their skill, their competencies before and now. You know, it's a real amazing.
What are some of the feedback that you get from people in the community who have had the capacity built in terms of being able to de-escalate violence or situations?
Okay, so for instance, like one of the communities I work in, Mtima, they form different organizations, about 6 or 7, right? And one of these organizations deals with counseling. So they have put in place institutions in their communities to address certain issues. Other communities, like in St. Barb's and Gonzales, all the other communities, they will see things like what you say, brewing, and they will take the initiative to do a program, you know, engage the youth, have dialogue. Listen, it's amazing. And I want to say this, right? I don't know how it will really come across the air, but the women really take the lead in these communities, right? You know, sometimes we hear and feel like women are, you know, neglected, but the women in these communities really take the lead. You know, in most CACs, if you have 5 men out of 15 persons, you have plenty. And the women really take the lead, and really thank them for that.
I could see almost like the possibility for an ego clash if you have one fella telling one fella how to do something, as opposed to a female saying, "Oh, yes, mommy," and you tone it down.
You know, and interestingly, it could be because, for instance, with some women in the communities, if there's a disruption on the streets, with some, like saying 2 men or 2 young men in a dispute, if somebody passing, you know, they take it on one time because Miss so and so passing, and they have that respect, and that is good. That is good, you know. So we do a lot of good work. Yeah.
You were in Enterprise on Friday. What is the situation like from your perspective?
Okay, so the Enterprise situation last Friday. Well, Enterprise is one of our partner communities, right? I being present at Crown Chase on that said time was more personal for me. You know, I told my supervisor, Gary, I said, listen, I am a Muslim. What's taking place in the Enterprise, I really take it personal. And I just want to go and find out from those guys what's going on. You know, what sort of prompted me also was the last interview they did where the face was blocked. And I saw that interview as a cry for help, right? And I don't know if I misinterpreted the interview, but I saw it as a cry for help. And I said, well, I really want to go and engage them. So I did go down to Enterprise that Friday. Well, they invited me. Again, I didn't just go just so, right? I sent word through someone. I said, I would like to meet with you all. They said, no problem, come down. And I went down. Well, I went with my branded CSP t-shirt because at the end of the day, I was representing CSP. right? And we were inside the mosque talking, and I was speaking to them about justice and righteousness, and I just reached the point where I had asked them, so tell me, what's really going on? Where's the scene down here? What's happening? At that set point, the entourage came, and well, we saw the results on the television, but I want to say, in terms of I being there, I think three parties have to take responsibility for what we saw on the television. And one is the young men, because we told them, don't go outside, right? Don't go outside. If the entourage comes, let them come to the mosque, let them film what is taking place, because we were having a discussion. And I'm telling you, it would not have made news, because next point now, the media has a serious responsibility. What we saw on television could have been about 5 minutes. They were outside longer than that. So there were other discussions taking place outside, but that was shown on television by all the media houses, because that is newsworthy. The minister clashed with unruly ISIS, quote unquote. But there were other discussions taking place outside. They were outside longer than 5 minutes, DK. I was there, right? And probably in hindsight, the minister could look back and realize that probably the approach wasn't really the best approach at that point in time. So there's a lot I learned from that experience on Friday, for all involved, even the society, right? So coming out of that, well, part of why I went on there too is to ask them if they would like to be a part of a Muslim youth dialogue, right? And this dialogue is in two parts. We're having a focus group discussion, right? Where we want to hear from them. And I saw a lot of the comments on social media saying that the young man wasn't given a chance to speak. Again, attentive listening, right? Respectful intervention, lack of cultural arrogance. But it's a work in progress for all of us as a society. So the focus group discussion is to gain knowledge of how and why some Muslim youth in at-risk circumstances are being lured or encouraged to be involved in violent activities, right? Because when I was down there on Friday, it's no different to the other communities where you have social problems, you have risk factors, you have youth in at-risk circumstances, right? So we have to use the same approaches with those young men in particular. I think what really going against them is the title they've been carrying around for a while, which is that unruly ISIS. So people don't see them probably as these are youth who facing social problems, risk factors. They are terrorists. So we cannot take a hands-off approach, but there are young men who facing some of these same challenges, DK. When you hear them speak, it's no different. Just, the title they carry in. So they have to work on that image, on how they want to present themselves to the public.
Enterprise is one of the areas that, like you said, is in partnership with CSP.
Yes.
Do they have all the arms or all the programs that are outside of Enterprise in Enterprise?
Right. Very good question. You're following the script. Yes and no. As I mentioned earlier, Project Reason, right, and Hearts and Minds. And if we are really serious about making that change, we have to expand those two units, because they work with CSP along with other agencies and entities. But that Project Reason, they deal with violence intervention. They have two arms attached to Project Reason. They have the VIs, or violent interrupters, and OW, outreach workers. And violent interrupters are what they are. They interrupt when there's a buzz that, hey, something taking place. And this is not a 9 to 5, right? These guys will go there any time of the day or the night, DK.
And Mtima Solwazi is here. Community Action Officer for the Citizen Security Program. We were talking about the Hearts and Mind and the, what is the other?
Project Reason.
Project Reason. No, you're talking about people who are on the ground. It's not 9 to 5, it's not 8 to 4. How does that actually go?
So the violent interrupters, right? They, a matter of fact, they are from the community. So it's not persons from outside of the community who are alien to the community. So they are from the community. In some cases, some of them would have reformed their lives. Right? They would have a history, right? So they would have been reformed and trained to do the work they're doing. So they in the community, they are wrong, they'll move around with the residents, and they actually interface with the young men to build that trust, because we know there's no secret that there's an issue of trust in a lot of these high needs communities, right? There's a serious level of mistrust. So Project Reason, they help to bridge that trust so someone can feel they could talk to somebody, right? And they won't come on Good Morning TNT and say, you know, DK said, you said, right? They will deal with it very strategically. Hearts and Minds also, right? Being a division of the IATF, the Interagency Task Force, Hearts and Minds are police. They are police officers. But they use, again, a strategic approach to policing. So they also serve as a bridge between the community and the police. And I look at how Hearts and Minds function on the BTM. The BTM has had a history of bad relations with the police, the TTPS. They love Hearts and Minds, DK. Listen, they love Hearts and Minds.
So what makes Hearts and Minds so different?
The approach. The approach. So number one, you won't see them like how what you saw on Friday, right? So they will come, T-shirts. The approach is, listen, I have a young man I work with in St. Barb's. So we have CAC meetings. CAC is Community Action Council, which is made up of the residents. So I invited him to a CAC meeting. He said, listen, I will come, you know, but only if Inspector Reid bring me. Inspector Reid is a part of the Hearts and Minds. I call Inspector Reid. I say, Inspector Reid, I really want this young man to attend the meeting because, you know, he has valuable contribution to make for the community. I said, but he said he will only come if you bring him. Inspector Reid jumped in got his driver in a police vehicle, went up, picked up the young man, brought him to the meeting. You understand? That says volumes. You understand? We talk about policing and in terms of just to protect and serve with pride. I serve with pride. So when you operate like that, a youth man on the block would say, same fellas, they're different. And you will hear that they will say, Hearts and Minds different. You know, they will interface with the children, the mothers, the residents of the whole, right? And CSP, we work with them. You know, we help to support Hearts and Minds, give them technical, logistical support, training. You know, listen, it's one big happy family, and you have to. We cannot solve the problem in Trinidad with a Superman or a Batman or a Wonder Woman. If you want to use them, get the Justice League together, right? It's together we need to do it, right? And that's how we've been doing it.
How long does it take to source a person from the community and then give them the training, raise their capacity for them to be able to be violence interrupters?
Okay, well, in terms of that internal aspect of how Project Reason operate, I wouldn't really be able to say. But when the program started about 2 or 3 years ago, they have conducted the interviews, and there were no persons who in the community who really want to make a difference, right? Just like a normal job, you'll apply, you'll go through a screening process, and they will select who they have to select.
the National Security Minister, he spoke about a police station coming into enterprise in about 3 months. What kind of role could or should Hearts and Minds and Project Reason complement that police station with to address the issue of crime from a slightly different angle?
Now, I'm not singing for my supper here, right? But let's be real. We need to expand and continue CSP. That is one. This program needs to go not just into a second pilot phase project. We need to remove the pilot. Right? This project needs to continue as a program, right, for the nation. That is one. With the expanding of CSP, we also continue that approach using Project Reason. Because we work together. Project Reason is a division or is a project out of, or an initiative out of CSP. And I don't want to place a burden on Inspector Sibiru and his men and women because they're a small team. So they need to expand that Hearts and Minds team. You know, I am someone outside looking in. They need to expand Hearts and Minds, give them that necessary training, right? And move the project or the program out of the East Policy. Well, you remain East Policy, you expand it into other areas like Enterprise, other parts of Trinidad. They need to do that. Listen, as I said earlier, it was off the air, the Ministry of National Security has two arms. You have the military arm, you have the social arm. And each arm has a job to do, you know. No, but it's how you now balance it, right? Will you always use the military approach or you complement it with the social approach? Because there's need for the military approach, you know. We can't deny that. I'll be a hypocrite sitting and saying, no, you don't need the military approach, but you need to complement it with the social, right? And you have to wait out which you use first, or how you complement it, how you merge them, right? So Friday, in my humble opinion, should have been the social approach, you know? I think we have gotten more out of it.
And we want to thank you because we got so much out of this conversation. Mtima Solwazi, Citizens Security Program, our Community Action Officer at CSP, for giving us some of your time, and we hope to have you back to continue the discussion because it's a discussion that is needed at this point in time.
Thank you.
And we want to thank you for tuning in. This is Good Morning Trinidad and Tobago. We can